Hi, welcome back to another chill and draw with me, or draw and chill with me rather. I am Waffles, and today we're drawing Kaeya and Alberich. Um, I actually am trying a different way. If you watch my last video, it was very much like a time lapse, but I wanted this to feel more, I guess, personal, like you're seeing what I'm actually doing in real time. So that's why we're doing it a bit differently. We actually tried two different ways in this video. This is a screen recording, and the next is just like an actual camera recording of me drawing. And well, mostly because that screen recording didn't work out, but that's okay. Um, but like I said, we are drawing Kaeya. The main purpose of this was just mostly to test out my line work. I've been kind of going back and forth with it, and I got inspired by another like draw with me video I saw, and I really loved how they did their line art. So that inspired me to try experimenting with my line art. I find I don't even like experiment that much, to be honest. I fall back on the way I usually do line art, which is fine. Like, I did like it, especially with this drawing. But right now we are doing like a cleanup sketch. I had originally drawn this like just in my sketchbook um while chilling at home one day. This is some weeks ago. And so I wanted to like clean this up and like color it and everything. So yeah, anytime I draw my sketchbook, unless it's like something that's not too like in depth, I always go back on the like the digital software and just reline it to make like everything symmetrical and all that, because I don't know, like I like to like clean out all those. But after I did my cleanup like sketch, here we are aligning it, I believe. Yes, I'm trying two brushes. That's the brush I wanted to use, which is like, it kind of is meant to look like a digital brush. Sorry, a traditional brush. But I know I was too much like nervous. Like I wanted to try, but I was like too nervous to do it on this drawing. And I prefer like this really like crisp, like ink looking line. This is like a calligraphy brush. I forget which one, but I edited it a bit to like have like kind of thick our lines at the start and thinner. Um, but yeah, no. I just really didn't feel brave enough to experiment with that brush. And I do like it. I feel like I could use this for another like style of drawing, but maybe not my main like style of drawing, if that makes sense. I just really like how this brush moves, and I love how clean the lines and everything are. So that is why I was using this. Yeah. Um I don't really have anything more to say about the line art freeze. Like, I was just basically doing my standard things. I gave him dimples. I feel like that was really cute. I did, of course, add some like stylistic choices when I was drawing him, like the dimples, for example. And I did make his skin like just a bit more tanner when I was like actually rendering. But yeah, the liner is pretty standard. I don't really have much to say about that, because even just watching it, it's very like satisfying. I like looking at how I draw. It's so slow. Like it looks so slow, but I usually don't even spend too long on my drawings. I think like at most maybe 2 to 3 hours. But again, this is a portrait. It's obviously longer when there's like more characters. Oh, I love that line. It's obviously longer when there's more characters involved. But this was like not too long. I want to do a series of like just portrait drawings of like some characters from media. Like, I feel like that would look really nice in my shop and to sell at conventions, which I have started doing. But yes, this is I think I'm going to let you just chill to the music for a bit because I don't really have much to say about the line art. I just do it the same way too. I start off like really thin, or no, like I use how the brush is, which is like thin and chunky in some parts, and then later on I go in and make it like thicker, I guess, like that. And I do that around like the edges and all that. And yeah, enjoy the line art.
Can we just take control? We're overcomplicating how love flows. High low shouldn't be this stock broke, shouldn't be this hard to tell you I want more. I wanna see that you want me.
Okay, now we're to the second half of the drawing process. I ended up not being able to like record every single thing because my iPad just was not having enough space to record, and I had originally recorded over an hour of like drawing, and my iPad like crash procreates, which it does do a lot in here in this like drawing. I think it's because my file size is too big. But I do like drawing on high resolutions because I think about like prints and stuff like that. But because of that, I lost a whole hour of recording. I was kind of bummed out, to be honest. But now I am finishing up my actual drawing because, like I said, I don't take too long, so I only had a little bit left. So I spent that just like finishing up the hair, and doing like little details. I think I did some details in the shirt and all that. I really like how this turned out. Like genuinely, I'm so impressed. I like the wisps that come out of the hair. I do it on the coat later, but I like going on top of my line arts layer and adding like strands of hair to make it feel, I guess, more alive. I do that for the this is where it crashes, I believe. I don't know. I think I worked too high on my sizes and stuff. I wonder if I could just draw it in a lower opacity, and then as I'm finishing, like increase the resolution. But I'm not sure if that's how it works, to be honest. But yes, that's what I was doing here. I was just adding flyaways. I really like texture in my art. I feel like it's hard to get sometimes with the style I've like curated. So I find like doing these flyaways as just nice, like little subtle like additions. I feel like it really like adds to the drawing, at least in my experience or my opinion, I guess. Yeah, that's what I was talking about with the liner, having it be like thicker in some parts and thinner in some places. Something about it just makes the drawing have weight to me. I try to add the like thicker outlines towards the edges or corners, like to show pressure or weight. Obviously it varies. Like sometimes I just kind of do it where I feel like I like where it looks best, but that's the general idea of how I do it. I was now struggling with the background because originally I thought I wanted to use like pictures of flowers in the background, because I had like taking pictures of really pretty flowers and to use to my art. So I thought, oh, I could have like some flowers in the background behind him, which honestly, I don't know, I might change it now that I'm thinking about it more. The background I end up doing is okay. Like, it's pretty basic, but I don't know, I feel like the flowers would look quite nice. Um just maybe pink flowers to contrast with the blue really nicely. But I ended up just doing like a halo, like a circle behind him with like an ice brush or something like that. Like just simple, very simple. But a part of me like still wants to like have the flowers. But I like this a lot. Excuse me. I like this. I liked how it looked like ice pouring out. I can imagine if I did other characters, I would have circles like in that theme. Like if I were to do like D-Look, I would have like flames coming out of the circle. Something like subtle like that. Because these are a series of like portraits, I'm thinking ahead of like how the others would look, so they're like cohesive in the end. Here I'm just trying to sign my signature. Like I thought I was done with the drawing, but sometimes I like finish up. Oh yes, that's where it crashes. But and it does crash multiple times. But sometimes I feel like I'm done with the drawing, and I go to like sign it, and then after I'm like, wait, there's some parts that are not rendered, like the glove. And I feel like this is why it takes me longer depending on like my mood. Sometimes I'm like, okay, like I want to make sure everything is fully rendered, and other times I'm like, I don't really want to spend time on this anymore. But I do usually try to like finish every single drawing I start. Like I have some drawings that are like still sketches, but even if I don't like it, I still try to like finish and like trust the process, because this drawing, when I started it, it was like okay, like I did like how it looked, and I did like the potential it had, but I think finishing it helped. And there's a lot of drawings that I have to finish, and even if I don't like them, it's like at least I finished it, you know. There's drawings where it takes me forever to like even decide if I actually like it, but I'm like, well, at least I finished it, so I do have it as something. I do still add them to my like library of drawings. I've had very few drawings that I like just thrown out. Because yeah, I like to just trust myself and finish it. I feel like there's like a good way to look at it, and I don't always do it, you know, but I do try to like trust the process. Like I started the drawing, let me just finish it. But yeah, so I just went back to do the glove because it was standing out the mods that it wasn't finished. At least to me, I feel like no one notices the smaller like things in your art, but I felt like it wasn't finished, so I went back in and I cleaned that up. I don't know if I've already added the texture to the coat. It looks like I have, like the little fur, which I don't think was originally in the line art process. Yes, I don't think you even saw that, but as I was like drawing it, I felt like he's not himself without the like little like fur thing he carries around. So I think it's like an accessory, like a coat in a way. But I added that in also for like the color composition and for like an asymmetric like angle. I used to struggle with my rendering. Like it always looked kind of like flat to me. but I realized it's because I use one color to shade. I don't know if how to explain that. Like basically, I do my first shading, and then I go in with a darker color, and then shade again to just make sure that like it has layers of shading, if that makes sense. I feel like the layers of shading really add to the drawing. It kind of gives it more depth. I feel like if you feel like your shading is flat, obviously, like, I don't know if that's the best solution for every instance, but like that is something to try to add more like layers of color. Who knows if I explained that well? I explained it to the best of my ability. But here I believe I was adding extra shine. Like, I don't know, I was feeling like pickish. Like, I was like, I finished the drawing, but I still feel like adding more stuff to it. So I just added more colors to like the nails. And I think I go in and do his hair later. And I really like what I do to his hair actually. I just again followed the principle of adding more layers of color. The way I work on my color wheel is I go from like, I don't even know how to explain it. I go down by color instead of going down by saturation. I guess that's the best way I can explain it. But yeah, I feel like I have covered everything that I have to cover in this drawing. I will leave the rest of the time lapse to just play. I guess thank you for watching. Well, not I guess, just I'm not sure if I'm done talking, but I will. There we go. That is like the shine I was talking about. I really like this like very blendy watercolor brush. Like, I feel like the blending is my favorite thing about traditional medium. So I wanted to make sure to incorporate that into my digital painting. Especially because I had a chance to work with oil paints and I was like, wow, this is beautiful, you know? So now I am doing the same with traditional painting. I mean, I'm confusing it. But yes, I like the blendiness. And it took me a while to find a brush that did that in Procreate because the original kit did not really, like the original oil paintbrush didn't really work for me. And I had come straight from using Clip Studio, so it was kind of like annoying. Yeah, that's what I mean by I go up by color. I go up by color rather than like saturation or whatever. I cannot get the right words to explain it right now. But yeah, I had quite a hard time like switching programs because the oil paintbrush did not work the same way that like Clip Studio's oil paintbrush would. And to be fair, in Clip Studio, I was still trying like learning what brushes I like. So this took me a while. Like, I got my iPad in March, and it is currently August as of this. So it took me quite a while to find the brush that I liked, and now that I found it, I feel like if I switch mediums, I mean programs, I at least know this is what I like in my rendering. And I guess that's like a good way to look at, like, to understand your style. Like, think about, how do I like my rendering to look? How do I like my shading to look? How do I like my line art to look? And I feel like knowing that will put you on the right track. And I guess you can learn that by just looking at other artists. Like, that is how I found the way I like to render. There are a few artists that I follow that render this way. And I do have a more cartoony style. And like the rendering style is similar to how like you'd render realism, maybe? I don't know if I'm wrong about that. It looks like in my eyes. So I kind of was like unsure about that at first. But after finding the right brush for me, I decided that. But thank you for watching the video, and I'll post this on social media on my Instagram, or you can just stare at it here too. That's okay. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're staying hydrated in the heat. This summer has been brutal. And I mean, I'm not staying hydrated, but I will drink a glass of water after this. But thank you for watching, and see you next week or the week after. Bye bye.